Ever since the release of Skyward Sword back in 2011, there's been a lot of speculation that Ganondorf himself might not actually be evil. This is because, at the end of the game, the Demon King Demise places a curse on Link and Zelda for his hatred to reincarnate and follow them for all time. Many argue that this implies that it isn't really Ganondorf who is evil, but the hatred of Demise that latches onto him, causing him to become evil. We see a really great interpretation of this theory in Growing Up Gerudo, a comic series by creators Junior and Roy, which shows an alternate reality for Ocarina of Time in which, rather than being raised in Kokiri Forest, Link is adopted by Ganondorf and Nabooru. In this version of events, we see a Ganondorf who has been singled out as Demise's vessel, but doesn't want that role and tries desperately to reject it. Lovingly called Ganondad by fans of the series, he also tries to protect Link from having his identity as the legendary hero thrust on him against his will. Another interesting aspect of the series is that it greater explores the civil war that's mentioned in Ocarina of Time, but that we have very few canon details about. The authors seem to draw inspiration from Ganon's speech at the end of Wind Waker about the harsh conditions of Gerudo Desert, as they emphasize the Gerudo's lack of important resources as the source of their tension with Hyrule. This idea makes a lot of sense, as even thousands of years later in Breath of the Wild, Gerudo Desert is just as deadly a place as Wind Waker Ganon described it to be, with extreme temperatures both day and night that can kill Link without proper food and clothing. So if we consider that Ganon's initial interest in overthrowing Hyrule might have been to secure better land and resources for his people, that suddenly doesn't seem so evil. Perhaps it was only Demise's hatred that then pushed him to a greater thirst for power and destruction. So with this in mind, here are several reasons why we'd love to see a good guy Ganon in Breath of the Wild 2 or another future game. 1. Because the eternal reincarnation of the Triforce holders is kind of sad. So we get it. The idea that Link and Zelda keep reincarnating to face Demise's hatred is what allows the franchise to keep giving us fun new scenarios starring different versions of the same main characters. And we love that. But at the same time, many fans are really saddened by the idea that Link, Zelda, and Ganon don't get any real say in their own destinies, and that they keep having to fight the same fight over and over and over again. Breath of the Wild especially brought the tragedy of this concept to the forefront, with its portrayal of a Zelda who wasn't totally comfortable with her predestined role, and seemed to want to be a scientist like Pura instead. And if this is sad for the heroes, then it's just as sad for the villain, who maybe wasn't such a bad guy before he was corrupted by Demise and used as his puppet to do terrible things. It would be really interesting to see what happens if the cycle is broken, even if only temporarily. 2. Because it makes sense. Calamity Ganon seems to be a being made almost entirely of pure malice, which many believe mean it's the literal physical embodiment of Demise's hatred. If this is the case, the defeat of Calamity Ganon at the end of Breath of the Wild could signify the end of Demise's hatred once and for all. If the curse is indeed broken, does that mean that Ganondorf is now free of his influence? The teasers for Breath of the Wild 2 that we've seen so far show us an underground corpse that definitely bears a resemblance to Ganondorf, and this has led many fans to hope that this corpse will get rehydrated with nipple rings for some reason. There have also been hints that the main villain of the game will not be any form of Ganon, but rather another character such as Aster or Zant. If so, why not give us Ganon as an ally this time around, rather than an enemy? We'd love to see a Ganon who's finally free of his controlling ex and ready for his hot Gerudo summer. 3. Because everybody likes a good redemption arc. There are few types of character development that make a more lasting impression than the redemption arc. It's always really powerful to see an antagonist turn things around and atone for the things they've done wrong. and giving Ganon the chance to do so would make for a fantastic story. Getting to see a character who has been an iconic villain since 1986, before some fans like myself were even born, make a change and become a hero could easily be one of the biggest twists of the century. It could also be a lot of fun to see him have to work to gain Link and Zelda's trust, possibly even sacrificing himself for them in the end. It would be a great payoff to their eons of interconnected fates that would send a strong message about taking back the power to decide one's own destiny. Plus, given how far in the future Breath of the Wild 2 takes place relative to all games predating Breath of the Wild and Age of Calamity, this would still leave the developers plenty of room to go back and insert new games earlier in the timeline where we still have Ganon as a villain. So what do you think? Should we see a good guy Ganon in the near future? Or is it better to keep him evil for all time? Let me know in the comments, and if you enjoyed this, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.